Cynthia returned from her Outer Banks trip, a glossy Polaroid in her outstretched hand.
Liam, look at this. Her name's Kate, absolute sweetheart. She has this little beach house right on the dunes.
Liam took the photograph. The smiling woman looked up at him from 36 years ago.
That's Kathleen. That's my wife. My dead wife.
His hand didn't shake. His voice didn't crack. But something inside him went still.
She even knew about the Coast Guard. Said her father served. Small world, huh?
Liam forced a tight smile, his eyes locked on the photo.
How is this possible? I buried her 36 years ago.
He slid the Polaroid into his shirt pocket, while Cynthia chattered on about the beach. And just like that, the secret he thought was dead came back to life.
The way she talked about the Coast Guard. Liam, it was like she'd actually lived it. Not just from her father.
Liam's throat tightened. He forced a casual question to keep his voice steady.
What else did she say about why she moved there?
Just that she'd been in the Outer Banks forever. Called it her second chance. Odd choice of words, don't you think?
A second chance. His fingers found the Polaroid in his pocket, tracing its creased edge.
That's exactly what this was. A staged drowning. A brand new life.
He slipped the photo out just enough to see her smile. Unmistakably, Kathleen.
I need to step out for a minute, Cynthia. Forgot I promised to call Jim.
She looked up, her expression gentle, unsuspecting. Of course. In the hallway, Liam paused and pressed the Polaroid flat against his chest. The dead had come home. Later that night, alone in his study, Liam placed the Polaroid on the desk under the lamp.
36 years since the Coast Guard search helicopter flew empty-handed over the Hatteras swells.
The report had said no body recovered, no debris, just a capsized sailboat found drifting. He pulled the dusty photo album from the shelf, the one Cynthia never asked about. Page after page, the same woman. Younger, but unmistakable.
The eyes are exactly the same. The tilt of the head. That smile.
He placed the Polaroid beside the wedding portrait. Same face 35 years apart.
She hadn't died in that storm. She'd used it to disappear.
The official story was a lie, and he had grieved a lie for nearly 4 decades. The question wasn't how she survived. It was why she left him to mourn alone. By midnight, Liam sat hunched over his laptop, typing the name Kate and Outer Banks into a public records database. A property record surfaced. A small beach house with a tax address registered to a K. Sullivan.
Sullivan was her mother's maiden name. She'd been hiding in plain sight.
He arranged to meet Tom Rourke, a PI who specialized in missing persons. Outside Tom's office, Liam paused, the envelope containing the Polaroid and the address notes in his hand.
Cases like this, they get personal. You sure you want to know what I find?
I need to know the truth. Whatever it is, I'll handle it.
Tom opened the envelope, glanced at the Polaroid, then flipped through Liam's notes. He nodded, made some notes, and promised to call when he had something. They shook hands. Outside, the midday sun felt too normal. Nothing would be normal again. 3 days later, in the same Spartan office, Tom Rourke opened a thin folder.
Your wife, former wife, changed her name in February 1990, 4 months after she was declared lost at sea.
The court document showed the transformation. Kathleen to Catherine Sullivan.
Her mother's maiden name. She'd planned every detail, down to the name.
Clean record. No criminal history. No marriages. She lives alone, owns the beach house outright. Quiet life.
Tom paused, tapping the folder's edge. He knew when a case carried more weight than a client expected.
I haven't dug into personal relationships yet. Next step gets invasive. You sure you want the rest?
Liam's jaw tightened. The ghost in the Polaroid wouldn't let him stop now.
I am sure. Find out everything.
Tom handed him a sealed envelope with the preliminary report. It felt heavier than it should. At the breakfast table, Liam pushed scrambled eggs around his plate, fork listless.
You've barely touched your eggs. Something on your mind, Liam?
Just this shoulder. Axe up before a storm. You know how it is.
You'd tell me if it was more than that, wouldn't you?
He nodded, but the lie settled into the air like cold coffee. That afternoon, a thick envelope from Tom arrived. Liam sat in his sedan, alone with it. He drove to a quiet pier and parked, sliding the envelope onto his lap. His hands rested on the sealed flap. 36 years of questions pressed against the paper. He breathed out slowly, but his fingers didn't break the seal. He needed to be alone when he learned the rest. Alone, with no one watching. He broke the seal and pulled out the report. Pages of dates, names, and dry PI language. Then a smaller envelope slipped out, unsealed. Pale blue with old-fashioned handwriting. The main report detailed her move to the Outer Banks with a younger female relative in 1990. A sister named Claire. It said Claire passed away 12 years ago.
Claire knew. She was in on it from the start.
He turned the blue envelope over. The front read, in careful script, "For Liam, if he ever asks." Beneath it, added in a shakier hand, "Claire, deceased." The ink had smudged slightly. Tom had included a note. "Found in Kathleen's sister's effects. Thought you should have it." His hands were shaking, old Coast Guard hands that had pulled men from the sea. Now they trembled on a piece of paper. He slid the letter out. The handwriting was Claire's, and it was addressed to him from beyond the grave. "Dear Liam, if you are reading this, I am gone. But you need to understand why Kathy left. She was terrified of you every time you came home. Your temper. She flinched when you raised your voice. You were never there. And when you were, you criticized everything. She felt like a prisoner. Once, she told me you grabbed her wrist so hard it bruised. You probably don't remember."
A bruise. I didn't mean to hurt her.
A memory surfaced. A heated argument. His hand closing around her arm. Her gasp, "She loved you once." But she was drowning. Liam not in the sea. In that marriage.
He searched his memory for kindness. It was wallpaper over a prison.
The letter ended there. No signature. His hands fell to his lap. For 36 years, he had grieved a fiction. Now he was grieving the truth. He started the engine and pulled onto the coast road, letting the car drift under gray skies.
His mind replayed that bruise. His voice when he criticized. Her flinch when he moved too quickly.
His phone buzzed. Tom Rourke's voice filled the car.
One more thing, Liam. A retired doctor signed a death certificate for a vagrant. Your wife's record was closed that way.
She had help. From a stranger. A doctor who never met her.
Silence on the line. Tom's flat professionalism had uncovered a kindness that felt like a knife.
She hated him enough to build a new life from nothing. He couldn't find it in himself to blame her.
He ended the call and turned the sedan south, the road opening toward the thin ribbon of islands.
He needed to see her face, even if she slammed the door.
The highway stretched empty ahead. He didn't call Cynthia, didn't dare hear her voice. The beach house appeared between dunes, whitewashed, blue shutters, porch light on in the afternoon gloom. Liam parked 100 yards away and walked the sand path, the Polaroid in his pocket pressing against his hip. Through a side window, he saw her, Kathleen, moving quietly in the kitchen, filling a kettle. He paused at the gate, hand hovering over the latch. 36 years of silence, balanced on this moment.
If I knock, there's no taking it back.
He opened the gate. His footsteps on the wooden porch steps sounded like a guilty verdict. He knocked. 3 steady raps. Inside, the kettle set down, soft footsteps approaching. The door opened. Recognition hit her face like a wave. First confusion, then an impossible disbelief. They stood separated by a threshold. 2 people who had buried each other in different ways.
Hello, Kathleen.
How did you find me?
She stepped back, her hand trembling against the doorframe, but she didn't close the door. She led him to a small wooden table. 2 chairs. The kettle she'd filled sat untouched.
My wife stayed here last week. She showed me a Polaroid of her host, the woman I buried 36 years ago.
Cynthia. She's a kind soul. She told me about you. You know. Not knowing I already knew.
A bitter laugh escaped her, fragile and brittle as old paper.
You really had no idea all these years. You just kept on living.
Why, Kathy? Why did you let me think you drowned?
She flinched at the old nickname, her eyes glistening. The truth hovered between them, finally ready to be spoken after 36 years.
Because I was drowning, Liam. Not in the sea, in that house. Every time you came home, the air turned to glass.
She gripped her mug, knuckles white, voice steady despite the tears.
You criticized everything. The dinner, the curtains, the way I folded your uniforms. I stopped existing as a person.
Liam listened, his own eyes fixed on the worn wood of the table.
After you left for that deployment, I told Claire I couldn't do it anymore. She knew a doctor. He made a death certificate for a Jane Doe. I staged the accident. I was the missing body. I thought you'd be better off without me.
Kathleen pressed her fingers against the table's edge, her voice barely a whisper.
And you were. You remarried. You had a life. I stayed here, invisible, and finally safe.
The rain against the window was the only sound for a long moment.
I thought you'd be better off without me. And you were.
I never saw it, Kathy. I was so focused on the hero at sea, I forgot to be human at home.
His voice cracked, decades of military bearing crumbling.
I'm sorry. For the criticism, the absences, the bruise. For all of it.
Kathleen reached across the table, her fingers hovering just above his hand. Then she pulled back.
I never wanted you to hurt. I just needed to survive.
They sat in the kitchen, two gray-haired strangers mourning a marriage that had died long before that sailboat capsized.
You deserved better. I hope you found some peace here.
I have. In my own way.
The rain softened, and the light through the window turned the kitchen a pale silver. They didn't speak for a long while, but for the first time in 36 years, they were in the same room without walls between them.
Cynthia is kind, Kathy. We've had 30 good years. I can't hurt her.
I am glad you found someone. She deserved the man you became, not the one I had.
A sad smile crossed her face, accepting a life she'd never been part of.
Did you ever think about reaching out all these years?
Every day. But I was too afraid of you and what it would do to us.
The question of what happened next hung in the air, unavoidable now.
What are you going to tell Cynthia? She can't know about me.
I don't know yet. If I tell her, I lose her trust. If I don't, I carry this forever.
He looked at the woman he had buried in memory and saw only a stranger who shared his guilt. Neither of them had an answer. The decision would have to be made soon. Liam looked at the woman he once loved and knew the only path was silence.
I can't tell Cynthia. It would destroy 30 years of trust.
We never speak of this again. It dies here, with us.
A pact sealed not with a handshake, but with the weight of 36 years of shared guilt.
Take this. The Polaroid that brought you here. Burn it.
She pressed the creased photograph into his palm, her fingers cold against his skin. He closed his hand around it, the edges biting into his weathered palm. He walked to the door without looking back, his hand pausing on the cool handle. No goodbye passed between them, only the quiet acknowledgement that the past was now entombed. The door clicked shut behind him, sealing the secret between them forever. Liam walked to his sedan, the Polaroid heavy in his pocket, the salty air cutting into his lungs.
She's alive and a ghost at the same time. I just buried her again.
The engine rumbled to life, and he pulled onto the narrow coastal road without a destination in mind.
What do I tell Cynthia if she asks? A lie about traffic? A flat tire? Something?
The sky bled from gray to charcoal as the miles passed, the sea always on his left.
I've lived nearly 70 years, thinking the sea took her. It was me all along.
By the time he turned into their driveway, full dark had settled. Lights glowed warm inside the house.
Cynthia will be in the kitchen. Normal. She'll smile. I'll lie.
He cut the engine and sat in the silence, the Polaroid pressing against his thigh like a hot stone. One more moment alone before he became the liar in his own home. He stepped out of the car and walked not to the front door, but around the side of the house toward the fire pit. The metal basin sat cold, still holding ashes from a previous weekend. He opened the grate. From his pocket, he pulled the Polaroid, creased and worn, and held it to the last light of dusk.
36 years. And it all ends with this little square of paper.
He struck a match. The flame licked the corner of the photograph. Kathleen's smile curled and blackened, the beach house disappearing into embers. He watched without blinking, his face expressionless in the firelight. When nothing remained but ash, he stirred the embers with a stick, scattering the last trace.
It's done. No one ever needs to know.
He turned and walked toward the house, the fire pit a dark monument behind him. From the kitchen window, Cynthia saw Liam standing over the fire pit, his back to the house. She opened the back door, about to call him in, then stopped. His hand fed a photograph to the flames. She didn't need to see the image. The posture of his shoulders told her it was something he was burying.
He's burning a secret. One he'll never tell me.
Quietly, she closed the door and returned to the stove, her hands steady on the spoon.
Dinner is almost ready. I found an old photo of you from your Coast Guard days. Made me smile.
Her voice was light, but her gaze held a question she would never voice.
I'll wash up.
They ate in the quiet rhythm of long married couples, but the air between them had shifted. The secret was still a secret, but now it had a witness. After dinner, they drifted to the porch as they always did, 2 wicker chairs angled toward the darkening water. No words passed between them. The silence was different tonight, not easy, but not hostile, just heavy. Cynthia reached across the armrest and placed her hand over his. He didn't pull away. Liam's fingers curled around hers, a quiet answer. His eyes glistened, but he didn't speak.
I may not know what you burned, but I know you. And I am still here.
They stayed like that until the first stars appeared, the marriage holding on a thinner thread than before. No confession was needed. No absolution was offered. Only the choice to remain. Cynthia leaned her head back and closed her eyes. Liam watched her profile, memorizing the quiet courage of her silence. The porch creaked in the wind. The day's turmoil settled into something like peace, fragile but real. The secret would live with them, an unseen third presence in the house, but they would face it together. The next morning, breakfast was quieter than usual. Cynthia didn't ask where he'd been. The days blurred together. Liam caught her watching him with an expression he couldn't decipher.
She knows something, but she's chosen not to open that door.
The Polaroid's ashes scattered on the wind. No trace remained of the face that had unraveled his world. Life resumed its rhythms. Coffee in the morning, television in the evening. Cynthia brought him his reading glasses without being asked, a small act that said everything. But beneath the surface, the undertow remained, a new weight in the fabric of their marriage.
We'll never talk about it, but it'll always be there.
They had traded an open wound for a scar. It would heal, but it would always show. And that, perhaps, was the price of love after a lifetime of secrets. One evening, Liam found their wedding photo tucked inside a drawer, its edges soft from years of handling.
That was the day I promised her a future. She deserved a past that didn't haunt her.
He looked across the room at Cynthia, reading quietly in her chair, the lamplight catching her silver hair. He crossed the room and bent to kiss her forehead, his lips pressing longer than usual. She looked up, her expression gentle and questioning, but she didn't ask. She simply returned to her book, her fingers finding the page as if nothing had happened. In that small gesture, the entire weight of their life together settled, unspoken, but understood.
I'll never tell her, but I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful she stays.
The silence in the room was not empty, but full of the things they had chosen not to say. That silence, fragile and deliberate, was the truest language they had left. Miles away, the beach house sat dark against the dunes, a single window lit where Kathleen still kept her quiet vigil. In that house, a woman had buried her past, but not her memory of a man who once loved her badly. And on a porch 100 miles north, Liam and Cynthia sat in the gathering dark, 2 silhouettes against the fading sky. Their hands rested on the armrests, close but not clasped, as if even a touch might break the fragile peace they had chosen. Some secrets are not meant to be unearthed. They become the foundation of a different kind of love. The marriage held, quieter, heavier, but held. Liam never told Cynthia the full truth. She never asked, and in that silence, they built the rest of their lives. Some loves are not built on honesty. They survive on the courage to protect what matters most. The stars emerged, indifferent and eternal. The porch light clicked off, and in the darkness they remained together. Fade to black,